Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we explore your hidden thoughts and desires, revealing your greatest drop the mic moments. Now, here's your host, Art Costello.
Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast. Today, I am thrilled to have Sage Taylor Kingsley-Goddard. She has had 3 near-death experiences in the Mexican desert in 1994. Sage went through a profound spiritual rebirth, awakening her gifts of clairvoyance and healing. Today, Sage, aka the Prosperous Goddess, is a world-class clairvoyant and clairaudient, intuitive Archangel Michael and Divine Mother channel, and a masterful teacher on manifestation, consciousness, energy, healing, and spirituality. Sage is a mother wound healer, Reiki master, interfaith minister, hypnotherapist, and poet. Sage is also the #1 best-selling author and Our Evolutionary Catalyst for Personal and Planetary Transformation. Voted the world's #1 law of attraction teacher, Sage serves as the divine alignment catalyst for awakening souls. Her great passion is helping people live more intuitively and joyfully, remember how divine, brilliant, and blessed they truly are, and passionately share their God-given, Lord-driven gifts. Welcome to the show.
Hooray! Thank you so much, Art. It's such a joy to be here with you. And I love your program. I love your mission and your energy and your passion and your big heart. And so it's a delight to be here on Showering Epiphanies.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And can you tell us your story? It's got to be intriguing with 3 near-death experiences.
Yeah, gosh, I have so many epiphany moments, and there's lots here. So we're going to go on a journey together for sure.
I'm all for it. Journeys I love.
Great. I was adopted, right? But when I was a tiny baby, like just, a few days old. And I grew up in a Jewish family in New York City, in Queens. And, not a whole lot of remarkable, memorable things the first several years, just kind of a nice, stable upbringing. But things started shifting a lot when I came into age 11 and then 13 and 15, and all kinds of things going on. So at age 11, parents got divorced, older sister moved out. Then it became basically like a latchkey kid. My mom went back to work and I was just a latchkey kid, came home, watched cartoons and so forth. And we went from middle class to poor, because we now had only one income and we were on food stamps. I had to give up my favorite thing in the world, which was dancing. And just when my dance teacher invited me to become one of her superstars and go on tours and all these professional shows, instead my mom was like, sorry, honey, we can't afford dance lessons at all anymore. Not only are you not going on to the superstar level, but you can't go at all anymore. So I actually started working illegally when I was 13 years old, flipping burgers at White Castle. I still have a body memory of burger, ketchup, pickle, bun. It's crazy.
Well, what people that are not from the East Coast don't know, the White Castle had the little burgers, right? They had the little ones.
Really little. Yeah.
So
really
flipping
little.
burgers there was meaning really flipping burgers, because you had
seriously a lot of flipping and a lot of burgers. Yeah. And then the other thing that happened at age 13, which I know you'll appreciate because you're very spiritual, is I felt betrayed by my religion, and I actually left my religion during my bat mitzvah reception. And here's what happened. Talk about expectations. This ties in with your whole expectation thing. But I was actually the best student, academically speaking, in my Hebrew school. And I had been going to Hebrew school 3 times a week for 7 years, right? So the bat mitzvah was this culmination, rite of passage of all this study and all of this. And what I discovered at my bat mitzvah was that the head honcho of the whole school was my mentor, Rabbi Shapiro, did not show up. So my first thought was, oh no, maybe he's sick or something happened, God forbid, why is Rabbi Shapiro not here? So I'm asking him, my reception is 70 people flew in from all over the place. It was a big deal. And he didn't come because I didn't have a penis. He didn't come because he doesn't go to the bat mitzvahs. He only goes to the bar mitzvahs. So I decided right then and there during the reception of my bat mitzvah that I don't want to be a part of a religion that treats me as a second-class citizen, especially when I was the top student in a 3-state area. It's what, just because my body doesn't have this appendage. I'm not built in that particular way. You're just going to diss me and not show up and not honor me for my hard work for all these 7 years. So that was like, what? Crazy, right? So the expectation was not met. I had an expectation, which was reasonable, that my mentor attend or at least alert me to the fact that he wasn't coming. That would have softened the blow a little bit. But no, so that was really devastating.
What year was that?
So that had to be 1978.
Wow, that's just hard to believe in 1978.
Yeah, even in the 70s that there was that much sexism. Yeah. And it wasn't an Orthodox temple either. But in any case, I then became kind of an agnostic. Like, is there really a God, and maybe atheist, kind of in there along that spectrum for a while and then we'll fast forward. Oh, the other thing that happened was my parents stole my bat mitzvah money. And what I mean by that, that's how I framed it mentally, is they actually had me sign over all the checks, which was about $1,200 of gifts that people had gifted me for my bat mitzvah. Mm-hmm. And my parents said, we need the money to pay for the bat mitzvah. So they didn't let me keep a single dollar of the money that was supposed to go for me, like for college or for a car or whatever. And I'm sitting there being forced to sign over all the gifting. So all of this stuff kind of went into the patterning of not receiving and not being aligned with prosperity and not feeling valued and lack of deservingness and self-worth and, all these like patterns, right? So then some interesting stuff started happening at age 15. 2 really positive epiphanies. Thank goodness, right? Started to get positives happening here. Meanwhile, I was doing drugs and smoking a tremendous amount of pot, and I was still doing well in school because that's easy for me. But I was kind of going down the wrong path. Like, I just didn't care. I felt like nobody cared about me, and trying to kind of escape, with like this sort of marijuana stoner stupor kind of going on, right? And other things too, various other experimental things. It's a miracle I survived all that. But at age 15, 2 things happened. One is I discovered meditation. I was taking a yoga class in high school for the easy A, right? I was only taking it because everyone said, that's the easiest class in the school. Easy A. All you have to do is move around a little and lie down. It's like so easy. Everyone gets an A. Okay, sure, I'll take that. But I discovered in this meditation portion, like the end of the class art, that I would just go to these amazing places that felt so peaceful and blissful, and it felt like home to me. My monkey mind was quiet. All of that self-angst was silenced, and it was just this peaceful state of being that just had me glowing, for hours afterward. So I started kind of coming into my spiritual self. Having left my religion, I now started to find spirituality, you know what I mean? And one of the things that happened, I've probably hardly ever told this story, so it's kind of cool to share with your listeners here, like world premiere of this part of Sage's story, is that I was really super stoned. I had smoked, maybe 3, 4, or 5 joints with one friend. That's a lot of marijuana when you're a 110-pound tiny little slip of a girl. But what we didn't know is that the marijuana was laced with angel dust, with PCP. So I had my first out-of-body experience, which was drug-induced, but here's the cool part of it. I left my body, and I was literally like flying around, like flying into buildings, looking at what the neighbors were cooking for dinner. Literally like flying just totally free. And it felt really good to be out of the body. But my experience of being in the body was that my body was on fire. And my body actually wasn't on fire. It just felt like it was on fire because of the PCP. But when I left the body and I looked down at it, which my body was rolling across a very busy street at the time, completely abandoned. And by the grace of God, I survived rolling across the street with nobody actually inhabiting my body, in a sense. But I saw that it wasn't on fire. So then I'm realizing, I'm more than just my body. Epiphany number 1, right? Number 2, there's a lot more going on than I ever thought. And then I hear a voice, and the voice said, you can stay like this forever if you want to, my child. Literally, those were the words I heard. And I knew that was God. We can use whatever word we want, right? But my concept was, wow, that's God talking to me. And my thought back to God, it was all instantly, thoughts just conveyed in an instant, was, wouldn't that be being dead? Right? Like, okay, that's my choice, but would that be being dead? And he said, yes, it would. The choice is yours, and either way is fine. There was no pressure either way. It was just like, it's your choice. What would you like? And I thought about it for a moment, and then I thought, ooh, I couldn't possibly do that to my mother. And instantly, when I thought I couldn't possibly do that to my mother, I was back in the body. Body felt like it was burning on fire again. But now I knew a whole lot more. I knew there was God. I knew that I had a choice. I knew that I wasn't done being here, and I consciously chose to come back. It actually took 7 days for the PCP to work its way out of my system. I kept having flashbacks. I kept feeling like I was on fire. I was not functional in a normal way for about a week. And I had to tell my mom what was going on. I called my older sister, who was a total druggie, and said, I took this marijuana and it had something in it, and I'm on fire and I don't know what to do, And she's like, just eat, drink, stay home, don't go out in public, wait till you feel better. It's going to take a little while. It's going to work its way out of your system, but you'll probably be okay because you're able to talk to me. So you're not like going into a coma or something. You'll probably be okay. So it took a week, but I got through all that. But that opened me up spiritually to levels of reality of the universe. That was my interpretation, that I knew it was drug induced, but I also knew it was real. I also knew that I had a choice. I was really out of my body. Like, that truly happened. Otherwise, I know it's my truth. I know it was real. I know it was really God, and I really had a choice. So then after that, I started being more open to spiritual type studies. And I was reading spiritual books and learning more about meditation and all sorts of things. Went on to get a number of degrees, degree in engineering, degree in math, degree in journalism, teaching credential, but I wasn't aligned with self-love deeply enough. And just something was missing, even though I was having some, spiritual experiences. So I had a lot of health problems too. I was born with an immune disorder and was sick probably about 25-30% of the time, like sick, very, very, bronchitis, pneumonia, lots of things like that. So this is all going on for a number of years. And meanwhile, got married at age 25. I have a Jesus story, if you want to hear a Jesus story. I've got all kinds of stories.
You can tell me whatever you want.
Well, one day when I was married to my first husband, this is a nice Jewish girl from New York, right, who wasn't expecting a Jesus experience of anything at all, right? I had some kind of a horrible, nightmare that was more than a nightmare. I was 25 years old, married to my first husband, and I couldn't get back into my body. I couldn't wake up. I was these horrible things were attacking me, and it was just very dark and terrible. And I'm thinking, wake up, get back into your body. Wake up. Couldn't wake up. So I'm praying and I'm like, someone help, help me get back to my body. Help, get me out of this place. And nothing happened until I said, Jesus Christ, please help me. And instantly I saw this really bright light and I kind of dove into the light. When I dove into the light, that was Christ's energy, I opened my eyes. I was back in my body. I bolted up in the bed, and at the foot of my bed was Jesus, literally standing there, glowing, just glowing with love, like this, beaming love from his heart. And here's where it gets really amazing, even more amazing. My husband, who was sleeping, bolted up in the bed as well. Just he didn't have the dream, nightmare, spiritual attack or whatever I was going through. He didn't have any of that. But he literally felt Jesus arrive at the foot of the bed. He sat up and he said, oh my God, is that Jesus Christ? And I said, yes. And we just both were in a complete amazement for about a minute or two. And then the image, the feeling, the energy of Jesus, kind of faded. But to this day, that's changed his life and my life. We got divorced later and we ended up staying friends. But not too long ago, I asked him if he still remembered that moment that we had with Jesus. And he said, are you kidding? I think about it every day, So a lot of these kind of just really phenomenal, amazing spiritual experiences.
Why do you think that you are, the word I guess is susceptible?
Maybe sensitive, might be.
Well, because I believe in the possibility of everything.
Yes.
So I believe that what you say is happened to you.
Right.
So when I do that, my thought is, there is something about you that is, I'm trying to think of what the word is, not clairvoyant or not, but there's something that is an openness about you that lets this happen. It presents itself to you.
I personally believe that everyone has these capacities and everyone is intuitive and everyone is connected to the divine, whatever form that takes for them, whether it's God or goddess, or
I do too.
angels, or, highest self, whatever word they want to use for that.
The need to have closure in any given situation is sheer human nature. And when it comes to romantic relationships, this desire skyrockets. Has your previously failed relationship left you in immense pain? It's not uncommon for people to shy away from a new relationship after their first one fails miserably. The fear of the unknown makes them hide in a shell to prevent any future heartbreak. Relatable? Despite wanting to love and be loved, you can't take the plunge if your mind and heart are still locked somewhere in the past. Maybe you aren't aware of the power of releasing the past, or perhaps you don't know how to do it. Art Costello in his online course teaches the art of moving on from bad places to happier, more stable ones. This course can change your life for good, helping you beat all kinds of negativity on the road to eternal bliss. Sign up now before the gloominess gets the better of you at expectationacademy.com.
At 9 years old, I had an experience where, and the story's too long, but we had basically moved from New Jersey. And by the way, I grew up in a Catholic home, but my grandmother was Jewish.
Ah, interesting.
So I have Jewish blood in me.
Yeah.
But anyway, we moved from being in an affluent place in New Jersey to a very rural area in upstate New York, where we lived in a house that was literally with no plumbing. This is 1959.
Oh, wow.
No plumbing, no indoor toilet. We had to haul water from the spring up to the house and all that kind of stuff.
Wow, it's like a third world.
Yeah, but I went up to this hill because I was so despondent. I had lost everything that was really near and dear to me, which was baseball.
Oh.
I had played baseball all my life as a little boy. And then all of a sudden we moved to this rural area and didn't have it. And I went up to this hilltop and laid on my back and asked God what was going to happen to me, what was going to become of me. And after making this trip many times, I heard a voice that said, your job is just to do and just to be and be as good as you can be and be faithful. Mm-hmm. And after so many trips up that hill, I really ingested it, believed in it, and it became the mantra for my life. That's how everything has happened for me, because I always believe that everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay.
Right. That's pronoia, having a positive belief of believing that it's a positive universe, right? It's like the universe is more positive than not. And I believe,
absolutely,
love is the strongest power. It's the only true power. And that's our mission and it's our path. And thank you for sharing that. And I believe all of us can hear that voice of love and have these kind of, experiences that are miraculous, that are, and some maybe have a little bit more often, or maybe notice them more, maybe pay attention to them more or believe in them more, that kind of, the more we kind of honor our sacred experiences, the more we open that funnel, to have more of these blessings.
Mine have happened to me at the major crossroads in my life. Mm-hmm. That when I was 9, when I was in Vietnam as a Marine, a combat Marine, and then in 2006, when my wife of 38 years passed away from cancer, went into a big funk, and I laid back out on the lawn and asked God what was going to happen to me again, and just heard a voice, I've given you all the tools, get up and use them. Mm-hmm. And it's what propelled me today, this 13 years ago,
Yeah. I love that. And that, that really reminds me of hitting the bottom and then pushing off the bottom epiphany experience that I had in 2008. I'm not even going to talk about the 94 ones, which that was the 3 near-death experiences in the Mexican desert. That could be a whole nother show. But I feel like where the energy is right now is the 2008. So long story short-ish, I ended up getting divorced, from the first husband, having to really, going through that spiritual awakening in 94, having to really learn how to love myself. That was the number one key after I had like a huge awakening in 1994. I was asking God, how do I find my soulmate? And there were 4 steps. I'll tell you this piece. I think this is relevant. And then I want to talk about the 2008. But what I was told immediately was, Sage, are you serious? Do you really want to manifest your divine right mate? And I said, yes. And the voice, God, I say God, said, pick up a pen. So I picked up a pen, 400 pages came out. But the number one thing in those 400 pages was that there was 4 steps. Love yourself unconditionally, radically, no matter what. Love yourself. That's step 1. Number 2, heal yourself on all levels. Experience the true deep healing. Turn your wounds into wisdom. Step 3, clarify your heart's desire. Get really clear about what you desire and deserve. Really clear. Stop settling for less. Stop settling just to settle down. Really be clear about what you deserve and want in relationship and in life. And then step 4 is manifest. Manifest your more than just a soulmate, but a body, mind, heart, and soulmate. So I followed those steps, manifested my amazing husband. It's been 21 years and glowing strong. By the way, happy anniversary to you. I saw that you had an anniversary too, right?
9 years.
Amazing. It's such a blessing. Every single day we have with one of our right mates is such an incredible gift. So I had that piece in my life. I had the spiritual awakening in my life. I had a sense of mission, and I was given my calling as a spiritual teacher, as a messenger of love, as a healer, as an intuitive, and as a sacred messenger type writer and poet as well. So I had all that, but I still was having problems with health and wealth for years. This went on for years, for decades. And we even lost our home in 2006. And one of the reasons we lost the home is we didn't listen to my intuition about the house. I knew it was the wrong house. So here you go. You could be super intuitive. You could be the most spiritual, intuitive person in the world. But if you don't pay attention to it, shit happens, right? You go the hard way instead of the easy way. So here we are. This is kind of a funny story. Now, in retrospect, it's funny. It wasn't so funny at the time, but it makes a good story. But we're actually signing the paperwork, my current husband and I, on buying our first house. And we're in escrow. Remember the days when everything wasn't electronic and you had 3 inches thick of papers where you had to sign and sign and sign and sign all the papers, right? So our mortgage, which was one of those like tricky mortgages that they don't do anymore because so many people lost their homes on them. We had one of those mortgages and it was going to expire in like 20 minutes. So they're all like, hurry up, sign the papers, sign, hurry up. And all of a sudden, my eyes look out the window and I see a stop sign. And I'm like, ooh, that doesn't seem good. So I'm like, God, are you talking to me? Is that like stop? Like I shouldn't sign these papers? And then my eyes go to another sign in the building that said exit. So I went from stop to exit and I'm like, oh no, that means we need to get out of this deal. This is not right. So I pulled my husband. I'm like, sorry guys, I had to talk to my husband for a second. I pulled him out and I'm like, Mark, this is not the right house. God's telling me I had 2 signs. We can't buy this house. We have to walk away. We have to put everything down and we have to walk away. And guess what? I let my husband convince me that my intuition was not speaking, that was not God talking, and that we had to buy this house or this is the only chance we were going to have. And his fear voice, but I was kind of like, well, it's the man, like he knows, so kind of gave my power away. Bought the wrong house. Turned out it had massive amounts of mold. We spent $70,000 the first year trying to get the mold out of that house.
Oh, wow.
God was warning us, right? Do not buy this house. But when you don't pay attention to the signs that you get, bad things happen, right? So we lost the house. We walked away from everything. We moved to Hawaii because we were getting signs to do that. We're starting over. And I'm working as a teacher, classroom teacher. That was one of my many careers, right? So I'm teaching in the classroom, and the first year was fine. And then I kind of had made a conversation deal with God, like I'll do the classroom teaching for a year to kind of get us stable because someone needs a day job, and it was easier for me to get that than my husband. But after that, I really want to get back to my real work. Like I knew the classroom teaching was something I could do and I could be good at, but wasn't really what I'm on the planet to do. I knew that. But then second year came and they offered me the contract and I got a little too comfortable with the paycheck. The golden handcuffs, and a little bit too afraid, because in the past, whenever I had tried to do my real work, I was poor. I'd never made more than like $1,000 or $2,000 a month, no matter how hard I worked, even though the work I did as a healer and a spiritual teacher and intuitive was phenomenal work. Why, right? Why was I having such a hard time prospering and doing what I love and being all of who I am? Like somehow I didn't have those aligned. It was like an either or situation. I either had money or I did what I loved, but I wasn't putting the two together. So anyway, in year 2, because again, I wasn't in alignment with what I knew I was supposed to do, which was not to be there that second year. But I was there the second year. And I caught a student. I was just teaching 8th grade in Hawaii, and I caught a student cheating on one of those standardized tests. The really big deal tests that they're like, teaching to the test all year long, right? And I caught him cheating and I reported him, and he threatened to kill me. So I had a death threat, and I think there was some racism involved too, because he was Native Hawaiian and I was a haole white, Obviously, I invaded them and stole their country. It's kind of like, how it was like projected, like, haole, go home. It's like, I'm about as sympathetic to indigenous people as you can possibly imagine. I do shamanic healing. Like, I'm super, super supportive. I totally feel like you should have had your country. And, well, I'm not the one that invaded you, But no, there was kind of this thing, going on. Anyway, what happened as a result from the death threat, all HE double toothpicks kind of broke out. The job situation blew up in my face, and I got terrified for my life because this 8th grade student was 200 pounds. And every time I went outside of my home, I couldn't finish out the school year. This was 6 weeks before the end of the school year. And I could not be on. I had a restraining order out against the student. It was just a mess. The administration was not supportive at all. They were very angry at me for calling the police because I made a big deal out of it. And they were like, they wanted it hush-hush, and I was like calling 911 and all freaked out. So I became agoraphobic and actually had PTSD. And you understand that because you were in the war. So I had PTSD. Everywhere I looked, I was seeing that student. I was having nightmares. I was terrified. And I hid in bed. So this was like the hitting the bottom. I'm hiding in bed. And I was just like, wow, no matter what I do, it's just screwed up. I just can't succeed. What's the point? Like, I'm just going to die anyway. I just had all these like horrible negative thoughts. And one day I'm lying in bed there, Art, and my 5-year-old climbs into the bed and he strokes my cheek and he says, "Mommy, when are you coming back?" He literally said, "Mommy, when are you coming back?" He knew I was gone. I was like checked out. And when he stroked me and said, "When are you coming back?" I made a choice. I had an epiphany and I made a choice. And I made a choice to come back and to fully live for my kids. I wasn't willing to do it for myself, but I was willing to do it for my children. I didn't want to abandon my children and leave them without a mother. So I came back, and then I had a conversation with God. And I said, I am willing to be your hands. I'm willing to be your voice. I'm willing to do whatever mission you give me, but I am not willing to keep suffering with all these health struggles. I am not willing to keep losing my home and my job and have people threatening to kill me. I am not willing to have so much drama and crisis and for it to be so hard. So God, we got to work this out. If you want me to do my mission and you want me to do what you put me here to do, we have to find a way for this to work out so that I can be reasonably healthy, reasonably wealthy, reasonably secure. And I deserve that. And that's what I'm telling you. It's got to be that way or I'm not going to do it. So I kind of gave God an ultimatum. That's pretty funny, right? If you think about it, I never thought of it that way. But I said, I'm not willing to play that old game anymore. I'm not willing to have that old pattern anymore. I'm just not. So like whatever it is that I have not been understanding, please show it to me. Please make that crystal clear now, lightning bolt, burning bush, whatever it takes, make it so clear that I totally get it, please, because sometimes I'm a little dense. and let's do this together. So the message I had, similar to one that you just had, was you have the tools. It was like, you know what, Sage, you're a hypnotherapist, you're a Reiki master, you're a spiritual teacher. Why are you not using the tools for yourself? If someone else came to you, I realized, if someone else came to me with these patterns and these situations, I would be telling them, this is what you need to do. Obviously, you have some beliefs that you need to shift. Obviously, you have some energy that you need to heal. You need to change the patterns, not just like, I'm going to do something different, but inside, right? The prosperity is inside. The love is inside. The health is inside. It starts in me. It's in me. And because I wasn't aligned with that, that's why I kept attracting these victim patterns, right? So I had an alignment, and Mark and I actually created, while we were going through this transition, and then we moved back to the mainland, and I have never had a job ever since that was 2008. So for the last 11 years, I have only done what I consider my real work, my soul work, and I have prospered. I've made over $1 million. I think you might have mentioned that I was voted the #1 law of attraction teacher in the world a few years ago. And it's not that there aren't other great teachers, and healers and techniques, right? But I think the fact that I just had to go through so much and come up from all of that, I'm like a textbook walking case study for every single thing that I teach, about manifesting love, about manifesting abundance, about living your purpose and connecting spiritually and really applying your spiritual and your intuitive learnings to the world, bringing that forth to the world. So we made this abundance audio called Aligning with Abundance. It's still available, online, Aligning with Abundance. And we started listening to it. And it has hypnosis, and it has chakra healing, and it has visualization, and it has the right livelihood prayer. And it has about 10, 15 different modalities, which I already knew. I knew the modalities. I just wasn't using them. I'm using them deeply enough on myself. And within 90 days of working with that and having this incredible conversation with God and aligning it up, I replaced my classroom teaching income and free from day jobs, day gags, free from day jobs, forever, and just moving forward and onward and upward from there. So there's so many little pieces in all of that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and kind of what's landing for you. So thank you for letting me share.
Has anyone ever inspired you to discover a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled you? It is a magical experience, isn't it? Inspiration is indeed very powerful, yet it's often undermined. It can lift you from the ground to the sky in no time. Have you ever thought about returning the favor by inspiring the people around you? If you don't think you have it in you, we have good news for you. Art Costello's online course has everything you need to learn to supercharge yourself and shape your character into a powerful personality. Get ready to discover your strengths and unleash the creativity within. Don't believe it? Check it out yourself by signing up for this life-changing course at expectationacademy.com. That's expectationacademy.com.
Well, I think that when we manifest things, that's the direction that our lives take. So, there's several things that came to mind that I'm very in tune with what you said. Manifestation was one, and then listening to your gut. Because I believe when people listen to their gut, your gut will never lie to you. It will never, ever, ever lie to you, and trust it. And it can be in almost any situation. And I probably learned that best in Vietnam because I trusted my gut a lot.
That's why you survived, probably.
Yeah, I think I've trusted it all my life. I just trust my inner self. And I'm always having an inner dialogue with myself. And I call it my dialogue with God.
Yeah, sure.
And it's my way of checking in, seeing that it's right. On abundance, I've not been so good about it. And I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. Ever since I was 7 years old, I have always worked hard and done well monetarily. Mm-hmm. And then in 2006, when Vicky died of cancer, ovarian cancer, I literally lost everything except, the ranch that we had. And I had, I had worked all my life to save for our retirement. Mm-hmm. And here at 63, I lost my wife. Mm-hmm. And I promised her I would pay off all the medical bills. And I spent everything that I had saved all my life. So the last 11 years, I have been I don't put very much importance on money anymore. Mm-hmm. It's more about just living the way that God wants me to live, that mm-hmm. helping as many people as I can. And that's how expectation therapy came about for me mm-hmm. and the writing of it, because believe me, though my background has been in psychology, educationally, I had never practiced other than in college and a couple years. I've always owned my own businesses and done all kinds of things and all that. So I just believe that we are meant to do things and we should go ahead and do them.
Right.
Because when we do that, I think we find our happiness. I think that we find the blessings that God has for us. Mm-hmm. And it's just the way I live, and I've always trusted and had faith that he would provide mm-hmm. for me. And he has. He's just provided for me in every way possible. So, I don't put a lot of, I'm 72 now, and I just don't put a lot of
emphasis
on having monetary things, because I pretty much have what I need.
Exactly.
So that's kind of my story on it. But,
yeah,
I think the important things that you've said that people really need to listen to is trust your intuition, trust your gut. Mm-hmm. Don't foo-foo it off. Mm-hmm. When you hear your inner self telling you not to do something, don't mm-hmm. do it. Don't get in that car. Don't get in that exactly. situation. Don't get into partnerships. Don't get into relationships that are not good for you. Trust.
Yeah. So sometimes that voice of intuition is more of that warning voice, like those type of situations, and especially with life-saving things, but even with things like getting into a business or moving into that home or health things too, but also it can also be the positives of those inspirations that we get. And often when it is God, our highest self, our intuition, our God, our highest heart, doing that communication with us, sometimes it doesn't make sense to other people, because it's something so outside of the box of logical thinking, that it's understandable why it doesn't make sense to other people. But that's where it takes faith and courage, for us to be like, you know what? It doesn't have to make sense to you. I don't need your approval. I don't need you to accept that, but I'm going to do what I know is right, And when we live our lives that way, and that's a lot of what I help people with nowadays is intuitive living. And so much of it is about trusting yourself, trusting your process, and discernment. Like when we have an idea or a thought, is that your highest self and God talking, or is that a hope, or is that a fear? Or is that just a random sort of blip, a random thought, or someone else's thought, or someone else's idea, like who is doing the talking, and really getting more clear about that. I have a lot of clear audience. We're hearing, a lot, and also with writing. I do a lot of channeled writing, and I teach people how to do that, how to have written conversations with God and with their own angels and guides. But I also see energy too, which is really quite amazing to be able to look at people and see their energy and, mm-hmm. All kinds of stuff. I have a fun story of seeing ghosts playing chess. That's a fun story. We actually stayed in a B&B. It wasn't an Airbnb, but it was an actual bed and breakfast. The oldest one west of the Mississippi. Pretty fun. And I walk into the room, and there was no one else there. We were the only guests. And then it was like a hostess. And I walk into the salon, and I see the furniture look different. I was kind of seeing what was actually there physically now, but also seeing like a kind of trace from the past of what it used to look like, with the piano over here and different kinds of older, like antique, what we would call antique looking furniture nowadays. And I'm like, wow. And there's two people playing chess. And one of them looks at me and he taps his hat, like kind of like a hi ma'am, like a hello ma'am kind of thing. and says, "Oh, were you waiting to play?" So the ghost is asking me if I wanted to play chess, and he's playing with a younger man. He had like a big handlebar white mustache. He wasn't Mark Twain, but like that kind of mustache. And I'm like, "No, thank you. I'm just kind of walking through." And my husband's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "There's two ghosts over there playing chess." So then the next morning, it's so fun. The next morning, we're talking to the hostess, and she's giving us our pancakes and our eggs. And I tell her, "I saw two ghosts, two men playing chess. There used to be like a chess table in that room, and there was a piano over there." And she's like, "Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right." And she said, "Look in the book. Did you look in the book, the historical book we have of all the things from this place?" And I said, "No, I hadn't looked in the book at all." And she said, "Well, just see if you recognize anyone. Just curious if you recognize who you saw." So I'm looking, and the guy with the white handlebar mustache was there. And I said, "That's him. That's who was playing chess with a younger man with dark hair." And she said, "That is the man who had this whole place built. He was a U.S. senator." She's like, that's Senator so-and-so. And he had this house built. He commissioned for that. And he's probably just kind of watching over it to make sure that we're all okay. So it's pretty fun being that, that you could say psychic or intuitive. I don't do, by the way, the psychic predictive readings. A lot of times people think, when is my soulmate going to show up? Or when am I going to win the lottery? Or when this or when that? And I personally feel that's not the right question to be asking, because everything is free will, right? We have a choice. We have our part to play. So it's not like something is going to happen to you. It's not an empowered way of looking at the universe, like something's already set in motion and it's going to happen to you. Your beliefs, your actions that you take, your energy, what's going on with your energy field, how aligned you are, that's what's going to determine when does this happen. So the question to ask is, how can I be more aligned with health, with love, with my life purpose, with prosperity? That's the question to be asking. What do I need to shift within me so that I can attract that and I can enjoy that, So anyway, that's just a tidbit for everyone. Stop wasting your money on the psychic hotlines, asking someone to tell you when is something going to happen. Stop wasting your money, honey. Just stop. You need to get aligned. You don't need someone to tell you that kind of thing, because predictive stuff, it could be right, it could be not right, but it's really more about the energy and the alignment than it is about when is something going to happen. So, but as far as abundance, I loved what you shared, Art, because from what I'm hearing from you, it's not that you're not worried about money. You're not feeling stressed. You're just not feeling like, oh, I have to increase my income. Oh, I have to increase my savings. There's a time in life when you may feel like you want to expand, or you need to manifest the money to pay off some bills or for some particular intention. And that's fine. But people can feel abundant at almost any amount of money in the bank. They can feel abundant at almost any amount of income, as long as their basic needs are met. As long as and there's been a lot of psychological studies that show that below a certain amount, if your basic needs aren't met, then it is stressful. It is stressful to be poor. It is to not know where you're, not having your basic secure needs met. That creates stress, which creates health problems and creates mental and emotional, negative effects too. But above that basic threshold, which for one person could be $1,000 a month, for another person it could be $5,000 or $7,000 a month, or 10 or whatever. But whatever your basic needs are, it's probably less than one would think for most people. As long as you've got your needs met, you don't have to have like massive. I don't make $1 million a year. I am called the prosperous goddess, and I do help people with prosperity, but I mostly help them too with their purpose and with their inner happiness and their energy and their spirituality and their intuition, because that's, I think, even more important than how much cash, they have, right? Because abundance is more than money.
That is the key.
It's more than just money.
I feel spiritually happier than I have in my entire life.
Absolutely. And you probably feel rich, and I've been to some third world countries. You might have too, well, with your military service, obviously you have. But like in Bali, for instance, in Indonesia, those people are so poor materially, but they are so rich, you know? They have the richness of closeness with family. They have spiritual meaning. They have beauty, natural beauty. They live in a more present way, a more mindful and heartful way. They're present. They're not rushing, constantly trying to achieve and prove something like we are here. So they have a richness that we don't have here. So I feel like our vision of what is abundant and what is prosperity needs to have a wider view. And that's part of what I'm all about. Is it's not just about the money, but money is also important for many cases, and we can heal our relationship with money too.
Happiness. That is where happiness lies, because people ask quite often, how can people that are poor be happy? Well, you don't need money to be happy. You can be spiritually wealthy, and that is where your happiness comes from. And that's how it's a choice. You know, we make choices. And when we make the choices that fulfill our soul, then I think we start to find happiness.
Don't know which direction you want your life to take? Are you sinking deep down into the pit of uncertainties day by day? So, what's the secret to leading a happy, satisfied life? It's taking matters into your own hands. But what if the matters in question are a total blur? Art Costello's Expectation Academy course aims to tell you exactly how you can get some clarity in your life. This course can be your savior on your journey to reinventing yourself. While you certainly can't plan your whole future ahead, you can definitely control twists and turns your life takes. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for this course now at expectationacademy.com. Get a chance to broaden your horizons and add meaning to your life. That's expectationacademy.com.
One thing that I wanted to get in before we get too far, we're getting close to our time.
Okay.
But one thing that you mentioned that I wanted to do a little brief talk with you about is you mentioned our health and medical intuitiveness and medical beliefs affecting your health. I'm getting involved in research with expectations and the treatment of diseases, cancer, and all that, because there's some research that's been coming out about how people who have not done even chemo have actually lived beyond expectations because their expectations have been so positive about living and wanting to live and all that. And then the placebo group being, or the other parts of the study being people who are very negative and woe is me, I got cancer and I'm going to give up and die.
Yeah.
And they do. And it's really,
fascinating.
It's not only fascinating, but there's so much truth in we are what we think we are.
Absolutely.
We are who we think we are.
We are. Every single cell is connected in this field of consciousness with not only within us, but also with others too, right? We're interconnected a lot, with the Institute of Heart Math and all their great studies and Bruce Lipton and epigenetics, quantum physics, right? There's so much now where science and spirit are coming together and saying the same thing. And absolutely, it's not only the choices that we make, healthy eating and sleep and exercise and having a meditation practice is very important, I think, for almost everyone, whether they're spiritual or not. I actually created a meditation program for Kaiser Permanente about 20 years ago, which I'm thinking of doing as an online course because all my students are asking for it. So there'll probably be that coming out soon. But, not only those healthy choices, but the beliefs, like you said, and part of the beliefs, I'm going to just add another 2 cents to the mix here, Art, that it's not only our conscious beliefs, but also our subconscious beliefs.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we have to get better and, at looking at under our own hood or getting some support for that. And one thing Dr. Bruce Lipton said when I was on a call with him was, if you want to know what your subconscious beliefs are, look at your life. Your actual life is a printout. It's like a printout of your subconscious beliefs. So, for example, some of my clients are running a belief when we first start working together that they have to work hard to have money. And so that means that that's what their life looks like, right? Or with health, it's a great example. I used to run a belief based on my upbringing that I was only taken care of when I was sick. Because when I was a little girl, when I was growing up, that's when my mom brought me tea. And that's when she paid attention to me, is when I was sick. And when I was healthy, she didn't pay enough attention to me. So I got this belief that that's how you get attention, and that's how you get nurtured, and that's how you receive love. So I had to identify that, and then I had to shift that. And so I've enlisted my husband. When you have a supportive partner, it's great because you can talk to them at this level of things, right? Like you with your wife and your first wife too. That I say to him, don't just offer me a neck rub, a foot rub, a cup of tea or whatever if I don't feel well. Offer me that when I do feel well, because I'm reprogramming that I get to receive the good stuff when I'm healthy too, So yeah, the beliefs, and it's amazing. That's just one example, right? But everyone has these different beliefs. And it's so true about even things like cancer or AIDS or Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr virus, which is something that I've had for 15 years. But, when we really believe that we deserve to be healthy, like one of the things I'm programming myself all the time is that it's more fun to be healthy. And I deserve fun. I want fun. It's really boring when a person is sick and everyone else is going out having fun, doing all these great things, and you're home going, I'm left out again, So aligning with making it fun, to be healthy. So there's so many ways we can look at that. And we could probably talk for an hour just about health beliefs. And I love that you brought that into our conversation, Art. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and we're getting real close to our time. So I wanted to give you a few minutes to let people know how we can get a hold of you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
We'll include it all in the show notes and everything, everybody. So
fantastic. So my main website, I have probably like 30 or 40 websites, but the main one is prosperousgoddess.com. Just spelled out prosperousgoddess.com, prosperousgoddess.com. That's kind of like the central headquarters. And then if you click at the top there where it says free resources, I often rotate what those free resources are, but at any given time there's 2 or 3 different gifts depending upon what you're interested in. Like right now we have a webinar on becoming a prosperous goddess. So there's a beautiful masterclass. So that's for everyone, especially for awakening women who want to align more with their purpose and with spirituality and with abundance in all forms and being empowered. And I could go on about that. I'm so into that prosperous goddessness, right? So there's the prosperous goddess gift. There's a Reiki ebook that really talks in a different way than like a lot of other books on Reiki talk about that as a path to awakening, ascension, health, and wealth. And that's free. So again, free, just prosperousgoddess.com. You can get the Reiki gift. My newest gift is it's a quiz that you can take to assess your woundedness about mother or motherhood. So it's called the Mother Wound Quiz. And I know you and I were talking, Art, about how passionate I am about that. As an adoptee, obviously I have that form of mother wound. I've also known my birth mother. My birth mother found me and reconnected into my life when I turned 21. So she's been a part of my life as an adult. And then there's stuff to heal regarding that relationship. And then there was stuff to heal about my mother who raised me, who's the one that I call mom. So I have like 3 different aspects of like mother wound. But mother wound can also be not only about your mother or mothers in my case, but also about yourself as a mother. So women who are a mother or women who lost a child or have had a lot of miscarriages or abortions or wanted to become a mother but couldn't become a mother or have issues with stepchildren or things like that. So there's a lot of forms that can take. And when you heal your mother wound, you actually align more with the divine feminine. It relates to your ability to receive from the universe. I was just talking with one of my clients in Europe this morning. We're working on making great progress with helping her open to receive more instead of being a giveaholic and always putting someone else first and having herself on the back burner all the time, because A lot of women do that. A lot of entrepreneurs do that. A lot of healers do that. A lot of parents and caregivers do that. So this whole sort of universe of healing one's mother wound, there's also father wound, right? Obviously. You may find the quiz really, really insightful. And again, that's free. And then, of course, if anyone wants to find out more about our different programs and courses, you can learn more there. There's the Aligning with Abundance. By the way, Art, I would like to gift that to you. I hope you will allow yourself to receive. I want to just give you that abundance audio as a gift, just to thank you for having me on the show. And you listen to it while you sleep. It's so cool because you don't need any time in your busy day. You just push play and you listen to it while you sleep, and it's 100% positive, and it's proven to work. And it's, something like 500, 600 people have used it, and it really helps in a lot of ways. It's not only about manifesting money, although for a lot of people that does happen. It's also about feeling more aligned, feeling more abundant, feeling more joyful, feeling more happy, feeling more creative, feeling more connected, in your life. So there's got a lot of good stuff going on in there. So yeah, come over to Prosperous Goddess, you guys. You can find me on Instagram at Sage the Prosperous Goddess. You can find me on Facebook, The Prosperous Goddess. Pretty much everything in Prosperous Goddessy. That's me. And I'm delighted to connect with anyone. If you heard the show, feel free to send me an email. Feel free to hit me up with a message, or let's connect. I'd love to hear what's going on for you and what resonated for you, or any questions that you might have. I'm totally here for you. And thank you, Art.
Well, we thank you, and thank you and I received that gift from you.
Wonderful. Good. My joy.
Sage Taylor Kingsley-Goddard, this has been a great conversation, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yay! Me too. Love to. Take two.
This hour went fast, and it's one of those conversations that you just get into, and it just enlightens you and opens up so many avenues of new thought.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We love it when we have given others the ability to have epiphanies about things. And I hope that our guests and listeners have all learned from Sage today something that they can take and apply to their life and make it different and change something that you want to change. That's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. Amen and amen.
I thank you. And with that being said, everybody knows where they can get a hold of me, expectationtherapy.com. And we look forward to having you back next week. And we'll, all of our guests, hope you really did learn from Sage. And I'm going to encourage you to connect with her and support her in any way you can. And with that being said, Heather White, can you take us out of here for today?
Thanks for listening to the show. Drop us your comments and questions with what you want answered on the show. You can subscribe on iTunes and Binge Network. You can also get more information on the website, expectationtherapy.com.